Today we come to the final chapter of the book of Hebrews. This is Hebrews chapter 13, and the Hebrews writer has really been trying to encourage these brethren, and he finishes out his letter with some final instructions on things they need to remember, things they need to be doing and not doing, remembering how to live for the Lord. And we're going to take this section by section in the next couple weeks. But we're going to start here in Hebrews chapter 13, verses 1 through 3, where he begins by saying to let brotherly love continue, he says. I mean, that's pretty simple enough, pretty straightforward. But brotherly love, let that continue, let it continue to grow. I mean, how many passages do we have throughout Scripture where we're taught to love one another, we're taught to help one another, serve one another, care for one another? And so the Hebrews writer reminds them, folks, you need to continue to love one another, continue to be active in this love, continue to grow in this love, which I think the next couple things he says really go with this love being active, love being in action. As he goes on to say, verse 2, do not forget to entertain strangers, for by so doing some have unknowingly entertained angels. So he says we need to be hospitable to one another. We need to be able to show hospitality to one another in love and in faith and in joy and fellowship. That's something we're taught to do and to be as well, as to be hospitable people willing to open our homes, open our whatever means we have, be able to share and to care and to give. And then finally he says, verse 3, remember the prisoners as if chained with them, those who are mistreated, since you yourselves are in the body also. The persecutions the Christians were facing in that day and traveling around and being arrested and persecuted, the Hebrews writer reminds them the way you let brotherly love continue is love the strangers, even the brethren who you may not know. Love those in prison, your brethren in prison, as if you're chained with them, because you know what that must be like to be suffering that way. Show this brotherly love. I mean, really, the list goes on and how we're to let brotherly love continue, how we are to love one another, not just in word, but in deed and in truth, to serve and to care and to support and to help and to give that love to one another. And so something we need to think about how Jesus has loved us, how God has loved us. Jesus used himself as an example of love. Jesus used God as an example of love. Because God was willing to send Jesus. Jesus was willing to come and to die. Jesus was all about loving people, serving people, caring and helping people. Jesus humbled himself. Jesus was loving and hospitable and caring. And that's what we are to be too. And so today we need to let brotherly love continue on. Continue to grow in it. Continue to be active in that. Let's remember that every day we live. Let's especially remember the love of God. Be reminded of the love we are to have when we remember Jesus on the cross and partake of the Lord's Supper on Sunday. Let's remember every day to be loving and serving as God would have us to do. Let brotherly love continue. God bless.